Welcome to Momentum Monday. Today's March 13th, 2022. I hear Howard is in Italy. Howard, how much pasta have you had so far?
I had my first batch, but I was eating some in New York too.
Which one is better?
Well, it's just different when you're eating it made by the hands of an Italian.
So tastes better.
Yeah, I got my first ride in, and the show must go on. Must do one here.
Have you invested in any Italian startups?
No. The airport was really quiet heading over to Europe. Must be I got to imagine it's the war. The people are canceling planes and trains. Tensions are high. Everybody's worried here for sure about how NATO's going to get involved eventually here. It seems like everybody's just already kind of rationalizing World War III, which is not a good sign. So what are you seeing?
All right, I'm gonna put the videos down so people can see the charts.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm seeing, basically, we are in a bear market. Most stocks outside of the energy and the metal space are in a bear market, and we can judge that by the price action in the Nasdaq 100, in the S&P 500, in Russell 2000, not to mention all the major indices around the world. I'm not even going to show you China, which is down like 75% just in the past year.
China's just got his finger on it, but look at Germany. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Europe is affected in a bigger way. And it attempted a bounce in the middle of the week, but as you can see, it's kind of looking lower again. So definitely a lot of new distribution days last week. Very weak bounce attempts. You can see lower highs, continuous lower highs, and then lower lows. It's a downtrend, and obviously in every bear market you can have some fierce snapback rallies, that can last a couple of days or more. If, for example, if we have like a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine, or if the Fed, which is meeting this week, is not as hawkish as expected, we might see, some bounce. But overall, the trend continues to be down, and many software names are already down 50 to 70% since November, which is less than 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's where I live, so I've had to sell. I've been backtracking for 4 months, trying to keep some exposure on because I'm not trying to time the market, but there's nothing working. And the semiconductors haven't looked like they're ready to roll over. And you're just spending this much. Yeah, if you go out to the weekly or monthly, this could get ugly for the semis. Everybody jacked up. Where's Taiwan semi? Everybody jacked up supply. Obviously long term with cars and solar and alternative energy, chips will be in everything. But I mean, there's no signs that anybody needs to be a hero, other than just having some market exposure, so you're not completely timing the market. We've been saying this nonstop for 3-4 months, but I'm trying to find some rays of, it's, politically I'm not good at this, but like, why would he stop? He's not going to negotiate. I mean, he's got nothing to gain by negotiating. Like, he's all in. He's asking China for money, Putin. So I don't see why he'd want to stall. I don't know why there'd be I don't even know if anybody trusts him at this point, other than full retreat. So what are you hearing from family in Bulgaria?
I mean, there are already like 70,000, 75,000 Ukrainians in Bulgaria. Like, people are trying to help them, just find them places to stay, feed them. For the most part, just people are trying to help. Obviously, most are worried that something might happen, but I don't really think that something is going to really happen unless NATO gets involved. So, I mean, let's talk markets as of right now.
Well, I mean, obviously that's a huge weight. I mean, obviously inflation is what's driving the markets, and if you get a recession, inflation should theoretically go away. So it's just the market doing its thing.
Look
Whoa,
at this
what's that
squeeze
nickel?
in nickel. I mean, there was
Well,
a
they
big
shut nickel. The
short
squeeze could
squeeze.
be still going on, but like they shut down nickel.
Yeah. So I mean, all the metals have been on insane
Someone just
run higher, and we've talked about them, over the past few weeks, that even without the Ukraine situation, there's been like a bull market for metals, just from renewables.
I'll tell you what, if that copper takes out 25 on a closing basis, that looks like one that I would just add.
Yeah, it was a beautiful base here, and it's
Yeah, we talked about it last week, but
yeah,
that
we
one
did. And
false breakout. But if that
look at
gaps up
this,
and
the
goes,
COPEX, which is the global miners ETF, it pulled back to its rising 20-day and bounced. So it's acting, higher lows, higher highs. It's a stocking. It's an ETF.
I mean, if that was a growth stock, you'd buy it. So you got to kind of shut your
Yeah,
eye and
it's
just
an
assess the size.
ETF in an uptrend. So definitely, this is where the growth is. So basically, we have oil, which granted, if there is a ceasefire, it can easily drop 20% overnight. So there is a risk there, obviously. We have the metals, and then fertilizers, and then we also have marine shipping. Like most stocks that are related to marine shipping are also, have been breaking out, making higher highs.
That just years of bad performance before this.
Yes, and now they're finally, having their day under the sun. I mean, not finally, they've been, growing.
And maybe it was
For a
the
while.
dry bulk index. No, you're okay. We can't see Ellen's in the room. She says hi. I'm trying to think what else looks good. Yeah, so semis look weak. I mean, it's the same old. Like we don't have to go through all this. It's
I mean,
like
definitely high correlation in tech. Software is the weakest out of them all, with the cloud ETF making new 52-week lows on Friday. Sem is holding a little bit better, but definitely not looking bullish, looking heavy.
large cap healthcare looked okay, but again, I'm not looking to put on positions. Amgen.
I mean, these are typically defensive sectors, which you don't really want to see them leading. And typically, when they lead, that's not a good sign.
Yeah,
that leads to further weakness later in the.
Well, a lot of the small caps were held up by like this AMC and GME, and they're ready to roll. GME.
Yeah, that definitely looking weak here. I mean, as you can see, finally making lower highs, setting up for a potential breakdown here.
I mean, that stuff makes sense to me that they're finally going back to zero.
Eventually,
Where's GME?
Looking very similar. Looking like as it's going to break out.
Yeah.
So if this bear market, prolongs, lasts more than a year, I would not be surprised, like in the midst of a panic, if the Nasdaq 100 gives back its entire gain post, during the COVID rally. I would not be surprised if it really.
It'd be hard because Tesla and Apple would have to give, Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Google. They're not going to give it all back.
They don't have to give it all back.
They're gaining market share.
But the index
I think they do because they waste so much of it. But anyways, we'll worry about that if it happens. If you pull back the QQQs, which all I care about, you can see growth. It's just heavy, like under these averages for this amount of period of time. It's been a while, even,
Giving an out back would mean like about a 40% drop. So you don't think that Google and Tesla?
Well, I don't think the FANGs have another 40% in them unless there's something. But I don't.
No, 40% from the top, not from here. Tesla is already down 36, almost 40.
No, I'm saying it would have to drop another 20, 30% for.
Yeah, in panic selling, just for a little bit, is possible. And if it lasts long enough, I mean, remember, for the past 10, 12 years, we've been really kind of spoiled. We didn't really have a proper bear market for the past 12 years. Like we've had big drops, but they only lasted like a month or two tops. we haven't really had like a long-term bear market where we would have like a continuous
Yeah, I mean, the S&P,
drop
you're right, is not even in one.
for
Look at
more than a
Capital One.
year. So
Look at
most
Capital One.
people haven't really experienced that.
Look at some of these financials, Capital One.
Okay.
They're starting to give. And that's more of a sign here. I mean, where's American Express? Not the same because it's more higher wallet size, but let's see where that is. No, it looks a little
Down
stronger.
16.
But
So
Capital One, Bank of America, they're starting to kind of, yeah.
the pullback,
So they've got a hold in here, but it's
down more than the S&P 500. Basically, the S&P 500 is held a little bit better thanks to oil, gas, metals.
yeah.
Down
They're
only
sitting below the
12
moving
metals.
day. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm going to take a week. I mean, I'm a little nervous about this week because you know the wild card is it's heavy, so any negative macro news, which I don't trade off of, could really jam the large caps, right? Anything related to China is going to affect Apple at this point. And if you look at
I mean,
Tencent, even,
let's
which
take a
is
look
like
at the
WeChat,
Chinese
oh my goodness.
internet. I mean, this is the
I have
drawdown.
a lot of smart friends that are like 35 is it can't break below 35. That's going, you know, that's to the
So this is
2015
basically what,
prices, and it
wow.
just ripped through that. Look at he may be trying to privatize the whole damn nation.
They are trading
Uh,
like all the ADRs in the US are gonna get delisted. That's how they're kind of trading
yeah,
at this
well,
point.
I mean, if you don't believe it, like you're at this point you're crazy because I don't know what you're waiting for. Uh, and anyways, what would make you want to trust it? Like, so you play this rally, you're just pure gambling because why would you trust it? Like, these should just be off your screen at this point. Look at Tencent, which isn't even really mainland, and that was holding in the best. And then JD, which is e-commerce or JD, yeah. See ya. Like, so the few that we're holding are like, it's like emerging debt. And this isn't even China, but
Yeah,
like,
it's not China, but it's kind of trading with it.
yep. So we've got, listen, I think the lesson here is we've all made mistakes here. I've made a few biggies in the last 6 months, but they've been on smaller size. So, defense, you know, we've been saying it for 3, 4 months. The good news is the other side of this will be great. As I was saying, the bad news of that great run up was the other side was going to be this bad. The good news is if you're long growth with high margin software companies, it can't get much worse. Well, I mean, this doesn't even count because she's showing her portfolio and everybody's just gunning for it. But you almost have to avoid stocks that she owns. She's been, because the hedge
She owns
funds are
everything.
having.
She owns so many
What's
different
that?
stocks. But people forget that she's not really in the capital gain business. She's in the business of just collecting assets. And people can make fun of her, but she's still making 200 million a year from fees. So
I don't know who's
her,
making fun of her.
her,
I just
her
don't
job
think her
is
strategy. I don't think her
80% of her
strategy
job is
is flawed.
marketing, just marketing her approach.
Yeah. So Tesla needs to hold in. Where's Tesla?
So Tesla's definitely looking a little bit heavy here. You would expect that, you know, electric cars will hold a little bit better in this market of rising fuel prices, rising oil prices.
Where's China's Neo? Got to be a disaster.
As all Chinese stocks. I mean, speaking of
No,
Tesla,
that's NIO.
oh yeah,
That
you're right.
was not even.
But it's looking
You didn't pull up any ticker. It looks
it's looking
terrible.
even
But like,
worse. You know, down 71%. So speaking of electric vehicles and just renewables, I wanted to mention that obviously they're holding a little bit better here. Solar didn't finish flat, even up for the week. So last Tuesday, it's the solar ETF 10 gained 10% in a day. Obviously, these are typically gains that happen in a bear market, but definitely, and this was a huge accumulation day. So there's definitely some money going back into solars. Obviously, it's going to be very choppy, very ugly here, still below its 200-day moving average. But
yeah.
definitely, price volume action is looking better than most of the market. So this is something that I wanted to
And
point
how's
out.
life in San Diego? Pretty good.
Yes, and it was amazing weather. everything is good. No.
Yeah. Well, I wish there was better news. I'm glad you're doing well, and we'll check in. At least we got this under the belt. It's midnight here. I'm going to hit the sack, and I'll talk to you next weekend.
All right, Howard. Have fun.
See you, everybody.